users, without getting too technical, are going to enjoy. If somebody sends you a file, how many times, I don't know how many times you've all presented, but I'm using PowerPoint as an example, but the same case applies to Excel and PowerPoint slides and Word documents. You've gone to do a presentation, you've brought your PowerPoint presentation on a USB stick from home, plugged it in and found that the PowerPoint presentation is corrupt on the USB disk. And there's 300 people waiting to be presented to. And the reason for that is, the Word document doesn't open. Word cannot open this document. You think the problem is with Word, so you go to another desktop PC, try it on that, it still doesn't open. And the same for Excel spreadsheets. Robustness is something we've all been waiting for a long time. And the reason why it takes a lot more for a file to be corrupt in Office 2007 than ever before is because your entire content is not stored in one place. So traditionally, if you had a file, and the beginning of your PowerPoint presentation was slightly corrupt, the file was a little bit gobbledygook, previous versions of Office, because they stored everything in a series, couldn't open up the file. They could not open the file, not even the ending, not even the middle, if the beginning was corrupt. If the ending of a file was corrupt, you still couldn't open up the PowerPoint presentation. But we know that the files saved by Office 2007 are not really complete files. They're collections of lots of files. So if a part of your zip is corrupted, or one of the aspects is corrupted, you can still at least get to possibly the area of the zip file that holds the content, but maybe one of your pictures is damaged. Does that make sense? Maybe the area that's damaged is where one of your JPEGs happen to be. So it takes a lot more to go wrong, a lot more corruption or a lot more virus attack for your file to become corrupt than ever before. So they're a lot more dependable, the file format. The other thing is they're efficient. In other words, they're compact. Microsoft claims in their release documentation that the files are likely to be 70% smaller than they ever were before. Without pointing fingers and saying, well, I don't think that's going to be the case, or I think it's going to be the case, there's not really much of a debate, because what you can basically think is, what Microsoft is saying is, they haven't done anything spectacular to make the files smaller. They've effectively included the zipping process as part of the saving process. Make sense? So all you've got to ask yourself is, had I, in previous versions of Office, saved a PowerPoint presentation and gawped at the sheer size, had I zipped it, would it have been 70% smaller? If the answer was yes, then we can all buy into the idea that Microsoft's claim is true. It's going to be 70% smaller, because zipping is included by default. And notice, even with zipping, Microsoft decided to choose a compression method that everybody's familiar with, rather than choosing their own one, and you've got to use Microsoft's unzip tool. So it's going to be smaller. It's also more secure. And you may be thinking, this one, I can expect you to have some problems agreeing with me. How can you have a file format that is following a standard that everybody else is aware of, that is available royalty-free, that virtually any application can open, it's zipped up and can be unzipped by anybody without a password, and you claim that by doing that it makes your file more secure? There must be there's a contradiction in there somewhere. The argument is this, and this is where Microsoft thought process comes from. By separating each of the components within the zip, and not just having it as one big file, you can secure your files better. For example, I'm about to archive 2,000 documents that I've written for clients if I'm a law firm. And I want to be able to archive those away for public record and public viewing. I can apply a simple routine. I can write a little script or have a little piece of software written inside the company that can open every single one up and remove my client's name and telephone number from each of the documents. Does that make sense? And then put them into the archive. So therefore, from that perspective, it's great. From an alternative perspective, from a different security perspective, do you all know what macros? You may have come across things like macros. Well, macros is just an example of something that's called a dynamic operator. Something that operates on your content dynamically without you knowing. A piece of software, a piece of code, a little routine that runs when you open it up. If you're aware of what macros are, be aware of the fact that macros are kept in a different part of your file. So that has its own little section in the zip file, which means that they're isolated. It means that Microsoft Word doesn't suddenly, when you double-click a Word document, open up and the macros run automatically, and before you know it, there's all sorts of stuff deleted on your hard drive or documents being deleted. So by keeping things separate, you can actually say to Office, any macros I want disabled, any Visual Basic scripts I want isolated, and you can do... you can control the way the documents are treated, or even just remove them completely if you want to. So from that level, it's a lot more secure. So the removal of personal data is easy. The disabling and the segmenting of dynamic content or dynamic operators is possible. And last but not least, of course, the one we talked about just a minute ago, backward compatibility. Now, to finish off very quickly, two things I need to do. One is share with you, I left you somewhat hanging in the issue that we were talking about with Layla. of how to get people to use versions of Office, documents produced in Office 2007 if they've got an older version. Okay? Simply put, you need to install a piece of software. You're probably wondering, what's the name of the piece of software? Where do I get my grubby little hands on them? The next slide will tell you that it's a long sentence. This is the actual name of the tool. It's called the Microsoft Office Compatibility Pack for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint 2007 file formats. Full stop. So that's what you're looking for. And you'll see around here that the actual name, that's the name that you would choose if you were searching on Microsoft's website or doing a Google search or some sort of internet search. The actual file that you're going to end up downloading is right down here, fileformatconverters.exe, which this is for your friends or your recipients to install, not for you to install. Fileformatconverters.exe. And you'll notice it's 27.1 megabytes in size. Okay, so it's a fairly large, if you think about what it's really doing, it's a fairly large install. And those are the converters you would have to install on each of the machines that have an old version of Office that wish to open the new format. Everyone clear? Okay, you download that once and distribute it, or possibly even include it on the CD that's got your content on it when you issue it to people. Okay. Lastly, I think you might want to, I think everything that I've explained to you will make sense if it hasn't already, if we quickly have a look at one of these files, one of the actual files produced in Office 2007. So I'm going to come out of PowerPoint, and what we're going to do is I'm going to actually save this PowerPoint presentation. All right? It's saved in my folder, and I'll just quickly go and save it again in my documents as ish file formats. Let me save that. And then we close PowerPoint. And if we look at my documents, you'll see that in my documents I've got a file called ish file formats, 206K in size. Do you see the extension anywhere? You don't see the extension, do we? There is an extension. The reason you can't see it is we haven't got the extensions option enabled. Mr. Kelman, would you mind sharing with us how we can switch on Explorer, normal Windows Explorer, to show us extensions because we want to be that picky?
Do you mean how we enable it within
the
tools?
Yeah, enable it. No, I want to be able to see my extensions. Where is it?
We go to the Tools.
We go up to Tools.
Then Folder Options.
Folder Options.
Inside Folder Options, View.
View.
And then you scroll down a little bit.
Go down to...
There's, you have to scroll down within that, I believe.
I'm sort of giving you a hint.
I understand, but you need to go lower than that, I think.
Oh, sorry, lower than that. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, here we go. Sorry, you're right. You're right. I wasn't looking carefully. What do we do with this?
We click the little tick box.
Okay, so hide extensions for known file types off. Click OK. And this is only for the purpose of the demonstration. Those of you watching on SmartLearn, you do not need to do this to make to do what I'm doing now. I just wanted to show you the fact that ish file formats.pptx. It is a new Microsoft Office 2007 version. Okay. I happen to have WinZip installed. Start, Programs, WinZip version 1. Here it appears. I can then say File, Open an Archive. It's already looking for zip files. Look at this. WinZip is looking for zip type of files. We know that we don't have a zip type of file at all, do we? We have a PowerPoint file. So I'm going to say, please, I'm already in my documents up at the top here. I'm looking in the right place. And you can see that there's no file listed because it's looking for zips. If I say, please look for anything star.pptx, look for anything ending in pptx, and click Enter, you'll see that it shows me two PowerPoint files that are in there, and there's my one. So I can choose that, go down to Open, and instead of saying, go away, this is not a zip file, it doesn't argue with me. It does what it says on the, it does what we said earlier, opens it up. And would you be surprised to see how many little XML documents exist inside a simple PowerPoint presentation? There they are. And if I keep scrolling down, keep scrolling, look how many there are. I only had 3 slides in there with a bit of text and 1 image. But you remember there was an image in there. There was a picture that I'd taken. So keep scrolling. Oh, and notice as we get nearer the bottom, things start to appear. There's a JPEG image, which is 22K in size. And there's another image there, which is 114K in size. Does that make sense?